So we now know the fate of Tony Pollard with the Cowboys, and he is to be back with the Cowboys regardless if they reach a long-term deal or not. Why is that? They're going to franchise tag him if they cannot reach a deal by the deadline. Now, this isn't surprising. We've talked about this in several other videos, but we need to have a conversation about what this would mean, knowing how the combine's going. What does this mean to the other guys that are on the roster? Because this is a massive move because the Cowboys have been using the franchise tag nearly every year at this point in time, and it's not really the best thing to do. But with that being said, let's dive straight into this. Before we begin this video, if you guys could do me a favor and hit the like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you're new and hit the notification bell as well. To the 87% of you that are not subscribed, but you keep coming back because you love watching Cowboys content, hit the subscribe button. And hit that notification bell too so then you don't miss out when it comes out. Now look, I get it. We've talked about what the Joneses have done, and I've showed what my grievances are, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is, hey, if you're going to franchise tag Tony Pollard, what are the options? Well, you giving him that type of tag, you're looking at a $10 million price tag. That's right there for cap space to be used, right? So you're taking $10 million and just slapping it with Tony Pollard and hoping that you can work out a long-term deal, which the Cowboys are trying to do. Now, what this does mean is that, well, Zeke, your days are numbered in Dallas. Whether that means Zeke comes back at a reduced rate or he is outright released, which is the more likely option of the two, now you're kind of in a situation where it's like, okay, well, what can we do? The Cowboys have met with several running back prospects, and I think I know how this might play out, and I would be shocked if it came out to any other conclusion or anything like that because we've seen the Cowboys do this last year. What happened last year? You had a tight end rich draft where you tagged Dalton Schultz because you felt like that was the best thing that you could do. No tagging anybody else, but Dalton Schultz doesn't make any sense. I talked about that last year. Then you go into the draft, you go get a Jake Ferguson, you bring in a Peyton Hendershot, and look what you got. You now have a young tight end core that you can say goodbye to Dalton Schultz for, which, by the way, it's reported that he's not going to be coming back to the team, and so you'll get a comp pick for him, and you'll just roll there. Now, with that, you could be looking at the same thing that the Cowboys are trying to do. Okay, we'll bring back Tony Pollard for a year. They'll try to extend him. If they do not extend him, I expect them to run the hell out of him and let him hit the open market, which is usually the smart thing to do. However, here's the caveat to that. What happens to Zeke? What happens to Malik Davis? I personally think that if the Cowboys were intelligent enough to understand how teams run things, you would let both of them go. And then what you would do is you would go into the draft and draft 2 running backs, maybe 3 if you felt like, hey, you know what, let's just use this pick. But if the Cowboys are not interested in doing that, but you still want to add a running back, I think they will franchise tag Pollard. Zeke will either restructure his deal and you will still draft a guy, or you release him, you draft a guy behind Tony Pollard, and you just roll with that combo, which I think is most likely going to end up happening, knowing how this team conducts business. Then you let him go, but this is the problem too. The Cowboys continuously using the franchise tag, and I've already talked about this in depth in the video, I'm just going to say it here. It's not a way to build a team, and I think that you continuously doing it is showing your ineptitude. But again, I think that's the Cowboys' route. You have several guys like, A-Train from Texas A&M. You got Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet. Like, you have so many individuals in this draft that you can take, plug into your offense, and roll with that realistically you don't need to go with that. Like, the Cowboys could just get 2 running backs. If you want to franchise tag Pollard and run the wheels off of him, that's fine, and then you let him go. Cool. Because Pollard doesn't have a whole lot of mileage on it, but, giving a long-term deal to a guy that's a depreciating asset isn't really the smartest thing. And especially if the Cowboys just redo Zeke's contract and they franchise tag Pollard, that's still a lot of money to the running back room, and you basically are saying, oh, well, we can't do anything because we had to go sign Pollard, which is bullshit, because if you really wanted him, you should have signed him after his third year. But hey, that is hearsay nor there. But look, I think the Cowboys have a plan in place to tag Pollard, try to get a deal done. They won't. They'll start, looking at running backs as they did now, and they'll draft a guy or two. And then once Pollard comes back and is healed and something happens, they'll either have a really good season with Pollard and company behind him, and they'll just roll it there. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys brought Zeke back. But again, that's kind of where we stand. There's a lot of options for the Cowboys to go down. It's just a matter of how they pursue them. So with that being said, guys, what do you guys think? What should the Cowboys do? Is this even the right move to tag Tony Pollard for a year? I think that if you want to do it, that's fine. Not my money. But in a really deep running back class, we're repeating the same mistake as last year, but it's whatever. With that being said, guys, this is Space Cowboy Media signing out. Have a great rest of your day.